So not many people talk about this, but this is a very important video. If you're not clear on your personality and your patterns, all the productivity and making money tactics won't give you lasting results. What I'm going to share is a very powerful method that helped me understand myself on a deep level. Once I understood myself, life and making progress became much easier. So in this video, I'm going to talk about number 1, the concept of archetypes, number 2, the collective unconscious, and number 3, practical tools to use those concepts to create a profound shift in your life. So you might ask, what are archetypes? Archetypes, according to Jungian psychology, are like invincible scripts that guide human behavior. For example, have you ever noticed that certain characters and stories are universal across different cultures and societies? There is like a universal pattern that goes through the history of mankind. In the modern world, we can observe this pattern in media. There's always a certain figure, a certain archetype that is portrayed like it is the ideal for a society. Think about your favorite movies. A lot of heroes and villains have a very similar character type. And all of that happens below our conscious awareness. We are unconsciously drawn to certain archetypes. That's why, for example, expert marketers create certain avatars to target a certain group, because they know deep inside their fears, their desires, and then when they do advertisement, it speaks to a certain type, right? And all of this happens not logically, as I said before. So next time, pay close attention who you are drawn to. Which content creators do you resonate the most with? Who are your heroes? Who are your villains? So for me, when I started to think about this, I was very drawn to entrepreneurs and leaders. And the people that I was listening to or taking advice from had a certain type. They were highly rational. They had big dreams, big visions. They were very direct, confident. It was a certain type I gravitated towards. This is the underlying power that archetypes have on us. Now, when we are gravitating towards a certain archetype, what this means is we see some aspects that we see also in ourselves or want to develop. So it is a very good indicator to your personality, and all of that happens below the surface. So we have to become more conscious and reflect on our lives, on the people that we gravitate towards. So Carl Jung came up with this concept of archetypes, but to really understand archetypes, we have to expand on his theory. And his main theory is the collective unconscious. Now, I know this sounds very esoteric and it is not empirically tested. However, I find his model of the psyche and the dynamics of life quite useful, and many other people have found it useful. So keep an open mind. I'm not saying his theories are 100% true, but there is a lot of sense to it. So the archetypes are like models of behavior, and the collective unconscious is like the vast universal mind. So you can think of it like one mind. The whole human race has one mind that is unconsciously linked together. And that's why, according to Carl Jung, we have certain symbols, models, and people that are universally accepted and drawn towards it. They're like the ideal of a society. So in this universal mind, or so-called collective unconscious, reside all the stories and all the patterns of society. So I want you to keep an open mind with this. And if you really analyze the most famous movies, all of their heroes have a similar pattern. For example, like Matrix, you see Neo, you see the classic hero's journey. In King of the Lions, Simba goes through the same transformations. Now with this understanding, let's move away from theory and actually go to practice. So now the question becomes, how can I use archetypes? And for that, first you have to identify your archetypes. Which archetypes are you drawn to? For example, when I was a child, I loved animes. Animes, by the way, are a Japanese cartoon series. So I noticed I always liked the villain. I was always for the all-powerful, the loner, the villain, like Vegeta in Dragon Ball Z. Then in Naruto there was Madara and Obito. I was always drawn to the anti-hero. I remember in The Lion King it was actually Scar. I always sympathized with the villain or the all-powerful loner. And now in hindsight, if I analyze certain directions that I've took in my life, I can see a clear pattern. I grew up as an immigrant child in Europe. At first, I didn't speak the language. So in school, I was quite bullied and I was dark-skinned. And in the school that I was wearing, all were white-skinned. And kids, of course, don't know the difference, and kids can be mean too. So until the 4th grade, I didn't have a real friend. I was always in fights, always trying to prove myself. And you can see this pattern, right? So I liked always the villain, the powerful one, the smart one. So I identified as a child a lot with those characters because my situation was kind of similar and it was like a protective shell. Now you don't have to go as deep as I went to identify your archetypes. So what I want you to do is to think back in your childhood and identify 3 heroes or main characters that you liked. Because what we know from psychology is our childhood influences a lot of our character. Now we can change that because now we know through neuroplasticity that the brain can change itself. But a lot of behaviors, if you haven't done this conscious work and really dig deep into your patterns, a lot of things are like set from your childhood experiences. Now, I'm not a psychologist and this is not medical advice. Now, the key with this exercise is you start identifying certain patterns and it should give you a lot of aha moments like, that's why I do this and that. Another powerful thing you can do is to watch at your YouTube history or other social media platform that you use the most and identify the people you follow the most. Who do you resonate the most with? And then you make a list of all the positive traits that you like about this person and all the negative ones. Ideally, you pick 3 to 5 people that you resonate the most with, and then if you do this exercise, you will quickly realize that a lot of your strengths and your personality traits come from those people. Because first of all, they have similar patterns to you, that's why you are attracted to them. And this is not logical, right? This is all happening unconsciously. This is like the emotional brain. We are drawn to certain people. This happens all below the surface. To give you a personal real life example right now, in the business space, I gravitate towards Naval Ravikant, Sam Ovens and Jay Abraham. Maybe some of you guys know who I'm talking about, but if I analyze those 3, they have things in common. They are hyper-rational, they think long-term. Now, Jungian psychology, as you can see, is quite speculative, imaginative, and not really based on empirical knowledge. However, I found his theories very impactful, especially if you do this type of inner work, uncovering your unconscious, mastering yourself, mastering the dark side, and really understanding your personality. Essentially, the greatest thinkers, leaders, and people, they all basically said the same thing. Know thyself. Now, talking about knowing yourself, I want you to watch this video next where I talk about the process of individuation. This is one of the main ideas of Carl Jung, and in combination with the information today, it will really help you level up your life.